Nowadays, everyone's just talking about Skate 4, Session, and Skater XL, but no one ever talks about the weird skate games, the forgotten ones. Before realistic physics and flick controls, there was chaos, there was creativity, and there were bugs. There were also developers just throwing shit at the wall to see if it would stick. So I decided to go on a journey to play the most forgotten skate games in history. Some are surprisingly good, others are absolutely cursed. Let's start at the very beginning. Released for the Sega Genesis in 1994 by Electronic Arts, Skitchin wasn't your typical skateboarding game. You weren't skating halfpipes, you were hanging onto cars, dodging traffic, and throwing punches. It was basically Road Rash on rollerblades, just absolutely pure chaos. When I first booted it up, I had no idea what was happening. I decided to choose my character, naming him Bun. I hopped into a race and had no clue what the fuck the controls were. The screen was moving at lightning speed, and I was immediately eating shit. But I had one goal, to win a race. After a few humiliating crashes, I finally figured out how to jump. The soundtrack absolutely slapped as well. This funky 90s synth rock that made me feel like I was in a Mountain Dew commercial. When I finally crossed the finish line in a depressing 5 minutes, the game just straight up called me a loser. So I tried again. This time I discovered the secret mechanic, skitching or grabbing onto cars for speed. I probably should have known because that was the name of the game, but oh well. With that, I rocketed ahead, let go right before the finish line, and won my first race. No longer a loser, I was off to Denver. Looking back, skitching was ridiculous, but it was fun. It had a rebellious attitude, a killer soundtrack, and an idea that was way ahead of its time. EA had something special here. They just didn't know it yet. Fast forward 4 years later to 1998 and Street Skater drops, EA's first official skateboarding game. It launched on the original PlayStation right before Tony Hawk's Pro Skater changed the genre forever. The first thing I saw when I opened this game was that old PlayStation logo. That sight alone made me feel like I was a kid again. Then the EA logo also popped up, and I was shocked because I was about to find out what EA was cooking up before Skate dropped. I picked my skater and my guy's name is TJ, and the reason I chose him was because he looked exactly like what I wanted to be when I was a kid. I then grabbed a deck that looked decent and dropped in. My plan was simple, beat the first level's goal of 13,000 points. The problem? The controls made absolutely no sense. I kept trying to do tricks, but all I could do were ollies. Eventually I realized everything was based upon timing, not flicks or combos, just pressing buttons in rhythm. After failing 3 times in a row, I finally hit a solid run. Grinds, flips, backflips, just total chaos. But I still finished 500 points short. Even though it was frustrating, Street Skater had charm. It was clunky, but it had style. This punk, street level energy that set it apart. You can see the DNA of what EA would eventually perfect with Skate. It's like watching a baby learn to walk by falling on his face 30 times. Okay, this next game is absolutely wild. It was a skate game meant to be played with a fingerboard controller, like an actual mini skateboard you plugged in. And from that, you already know it's going to be absolutely chaos. I'm not going to try and pronounce the name of this game because I generally don't think I can, but you guys can see on the screen here. So anyways, I booted up the game and started playing without the fingerboard. Big mistake. Immediately it felt like my skater was either drunk or high as fuck, or maybe it was both, because it took me 10 minutes to figure out how to move forward. Another 5 to turn, another 10 just to look around. And then I learned the craziest thing. You're supposed to play the game upside down. You literally flip your controller 90 degrees. Once I figured out the basics though, it actually clicked. I was pulling off spins, grabs, and flips. And then I got to the first mission. And you're not going to believe this, but the story is that aliens have taken over the planet and the only way to stop them is by doing skate tricks. I destroyed the first wave pretty easily. And then I got to the second, where I managed to cruise past it pretty easily until I realized that I was down to my final alien. The timer was at 30 seconds. I needed 2 ollies in a row. The first attempt, too short. Second attempt, stuck on stairs. Mission failed. Overall, this game was genuinely insane. Weird controls, aliens, fingerboard gimmick, and yet, I had fun. It was chaotic, creative, and the visuals in the tutorial area were surprisingly chill. It's one of those so bad is good kind of games. But you can't deny it was bold. Next up, Aggressive Inline. Released in 2002 by Acclaim. This was their answer to Tony Hawk. But instead of skateboarding, it focused on rollerblading. And honestly, it's one of the most underrated games I've ever played in my life. The intro immediately hooked me. Real professional rollerbladers, killer music, great energy. I hadn't seen anything like it before. The tutorial was simple enough, and the controls were surprisingly smooth. Unlike the last few games, I actually felt in control this time. I finished most of the stages easily and decided to jump into the main time mode. The level design also blew me away. The quarter pipes, rails, ramps, huge drops, and crazy flow. Once I started chain tricks together, it just clicked. Overall, Aggressive Inline is a gem. It's got everything: personality, mechanics, and style. If someone revived this game as an indie game today, it would absolutely blow up. It's wild that this game didn't get the love it deserved. It's like the hidden cousin of Skate that nobody talks about. Finally, we have Skated, which was released in 2008 for the Wii and DS by EA. It was supposed to bridge Skate 1 and Skate 2. Basically, it was Skate with motion controls. I launched it up super excited because I hadn't played that much Skate 1, so it felt like a chance to catch up. That excitement lasted about 2 minutes. I couldn't figure out how to move properly in the tutorial area. The motion controls were absolutely unhinged as well. I was trying everything on my PS5 controller, flicking around, waving like I was conducting a symphony. And then mid-game, my screen just went completely white. Now that was probably my setup bugging me out, but I couldn't help thinking, this feels like EA history repeating itself. Even back then, they couldn't release a Skate game without crashes and bugs. It's kind of poetic, honestly. Still, Skated was interesting. You can tell it had potential, but it was just buried under awkward hardware. It's weirdly symbolic as well of EA's journey. Great ideas, rough execution, but somehow still memorable. After playing all of these games, one thing stood out. Skate games used to be weird. They didn't care about realism or polish. They cared about being different. From Skitchin's chaos to Aggressive Inline's smooth flow, every one of these games took risks that modern ones barely do. And maybe that's what we've lost: the weirdness, the creativity, the experimentation. So yeah, exploring forgotten skate games was a trip through gaming history. And who knows, maybe the next skate game will take a little inspiration from the madness of these forgotten legends.